This week's podcast is brought to you by Greenwood Nursery. Christmas is just around the corner, and your perfect Christmas tree is waiting at Greenwood Nursery. Trees, poinsettias, wreaths, centerpieces, home decor, and spruce tip pots. They have everything to make Christmas come alive at your home, as well as many gift items. Shop today for best selection in Tracy and Marshall. Greenwood Nursery gift cards are always the perfect fit, too.
You're listening to another edition of the Headlight Hot Seat, and we're making a little bit of history this week. And I know we're only not even 20 podcasts into this, but the history is we have our first repeat offender in Coach Kruse, Coach Ryan Kruse. He joined us a few weeks ago talking about football, as he's the head varsity football coach, and he's also the head varsity boys basketball coach. So he's going to take his football helmet off and put his hoops hat on. Thanks for joining us, Coach.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. And I feel pretty big time being the first two-time guy here, so I like that.
Yeah, you should be honored. We don't have anything for you, but you can have bragging rights over the other coaches. We're going to skip the background stuff because you've been here before. If anyone's really curious about Ryan's background, you can go back in one of our earlier podcasts and go over that. But I guess the first thing I want to start with, Coach, is the transition from football to basketball. Unfortunately, you had plenty of time in this window because you lost out right away in football, and that sucks. But isn't it kind of nice to have a break, or do you even consider it a break?
Yeah, the only good thing I could say about losing that first round of the playoffs, I think this is the most time I've had off in between football and basketball. I think football or basketball is just a little bit later this year than it has been. With the calendar, it always kind of changes, and losing that first game, I think I had almost three weeks in between. So, kind of nice to be able to get ready for basketball and get all the football stuff done and have our banquet in football and not have to worry about that during basketball practice. So some of that is a good thing, but obviously not something you want to do every year, I guess.
No, you want to be where Minnesota is right now.
Yeah, I'll take those problems and try to figure out how to coach two teams at once or whatever you got to do. So
that transition from both sports, what's that like? And this is the first time you've done it. Well, you were assistant in football before. Last year you were head varsity coach, of course, for basketball, but now you're head coach of both. The transition between the two sports, I know you got a lot of players carrying over and stuff, but what's that like, just making that move?
It's just a different game, but I think like most of our kids, our football kids, probably 3 or 4 that aren't, and so I think that makes it easier because everyone kind of knows what to expect coming to practice. Even though like the younger kids might not know what kind of offense or whatever we're gonna do at the first day, but I think they know what's in store at practice, and I think that makes it easier for them and me, and I know the kids well and know who's going to be good at this and who's going to be good at that, just based off what I can see in football sometimes. So that helps a little bit.
So practices have started recently. How's that been going?
I think we've done pretty well. It's I know we're going to talk about losing a lot of guys from last year, and so it's such a different group this year. But I really like how we've worked in practice the first few days, and it's just gone pretty smoothly as they're transitioning to doing something different rather than football or cross country or whatever they were doing. So I think it's a good group of kids. We had 19 that we have at practice, and so it's just maybe a few more would be nice. So sometimes when we split up, we could go, double both courts and stuff. But it's been really good, and they've been working really hard, and and doing the things that we want them to do. So
19 is low in your experience.
um, I think we were at like 24 last year.
And you were low for football too.
Yeah, and we were low for football, and I think it's just the senior class doesn't have a lot of kids in it at all. I think they're going to graduate like 35, so to have 4 seniors is probably all right for us. And our sophomore classes has always been pretty low for boys out for football, basketball, whatever. I don't know the reason for that, but those 2 classes kind of are lower. So 19 is there's I thought going in might only have 16 or something, but we had a few that came out that I wasn't sure would or had or kind of knew or whatever. So pretty okay with that, and it's I think one more year, and then we feel pretty good because our junior high has 12 eighth graders, and
I was gonna say you got to dip into that 8th grade group
yeah,
almost, don't you?
yeah, and we probably will eventually. We don't have a lot of C games right away, actually, because the other teams don't. So we'll probably have a few eighth graders because they got good numbers down there in both football and basketball, and I think we're just a year away, and then we'll be all right for numbers, and I think we'll be all right.
So let's get some of the bad stuff out of the way before we look to the present and the future. We got to go back to the past a little bit. The Worthington High School gym has kind of been a house of horrors for the Panther boys basketball team. Not once but twice have you lost to MCC, and not just lost, but heartbreakingly so.
Yeah.
What was that like? And just and you got to say goodbye to the seniors every year, but that's got to be really tough to say goodbye to those kids after such tough losses.
Yeah, the 2 years ago, you lose on the last second shot, and it was my first year as the head coach, and we we felt like we could play for a while in that tournament, and MCC was a good team, and I don't think it was a huge upset or anything, but it was we felt like we could keep going, and that was tough. But we graduated only a few seniors that year, so you also can look at it and be like, well, you got another year coming back, and then to have it happen again, almost the same exact thing happen to those senior. I just felt terrible for those guys because I get to come back and do it again, and have a chance, but that was their last chance, and sitting in that locker room with them afterwards, it was that was, that's tough. That's how you, makes you, wonder like why do we do this type of thing,
Was the second one tougher because those juniors 2 years ago, the Trevor Smiths and Alex Munsons of the world, now they were seniors, and that I'm gonna kind of put myself in your headspace that might have been a little tougher to deal with, because it was the second one.
Yeah, it's hard because every senior class, no matter if it's 2 kids like we had the year before, you still got to say bye to them, and you don't want them to go out that way. Whether it's 2 or 10, it was tough, but I think just having it happen twice in a row to the same group that were there the year before, almost all of them were in the game for both years, so it was tough on them, and tough on coaches to see them like that. So it's hard every year. I mean, football, we didn't lose in a dramatic fashion, but every time those guys play their last game, that's just a hard thing for coaches. So
You mentioned 10 seniors, including your 2 leading scorers and ball handlers from last year, your big man in the middle in Swenhagen. You have a lot of shoes to fill, and every year is different. your approach as a coach when you do have that big turnover, as opposed to maybe just one or two you lose. Now you lose so much of your scoring, and I'm not saying this is going to be a down year or anything, but just as a coach entering a season where you lost so many weapons, what's that?
Yeah,
A
yeah,
special challenge.
yeah. It's every year it presents a different challenge like that. Sometimes you lose a few, sometimes you lose a lot, and yeah, I don't know if there's been a lot of years where we lost as much, on the court experience, and probably if we averaged 75 points a game last year, we probably lost 60 points of that, and not just the points, the rebounding, think about all that time. So it
Yeah, and those
it's
guards. I'm going to interrupt you. Trevor Smith and Alex Munson, they were tremendous rebounders too. Did Alex lead you in rebounding?
yeah, Alex was about 10 a game, if I remember right, or right around 10, because I think he was like a average a double double, and Trevor was probably 6 or so, along with Riker and Aiden and Taylor, and you think all those rebounds that we got. That's you lose a lot on the court, and I felt like we had guys that could play that were younger that would have played on other teams, but when you have 10 seniors and 10 quality kids that can play, you just don't have a lot of time for the juniors, seniors to be in there. So it's just a whole different team basically this year than we saw last year.
Well, let's talk about filling those shoes a little bit. You do have some weapons coming back in Griffin, Noah Knockmoose. I think they started all last year, didn't they?
Well, Noah's not coming back.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's. I think you
Sorry,
said that.
Matt.
I think you said that in football, the football one too. But
I did.
yeah, I believe so.
He's
So
perennially young, I guess.
yeah, he
Knockmoose,
looks like he's 12. So
he
that's
does look
fine.
like
Yeah.
he's 12, so I'm forgiven for that one. But Matt, if you're wondering, your kid is in college. Okay, let's scratch Noah. You wish you had Noah back, I'm sure.
Yes, he was a fun player to coach, and he's gonna ref our junior high tournament coming up. But yeah, he so yeah, we got Griff coming back, and he 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 was our he was our third leading scorer last year, so we got some of those points from him. But it's a whole different role for him this year. He's going to be the guy that people are looking at to score, so they're going to defend him with the best player probably, and that's going to make it a challenge on him. But he's just a great competitor, and he'll compete and do whatever he has to do. And he really picked up from his sophomore year to junior year. Defensively, rebounding, all that stuff. He did so much better, and he's going to have to do more of that this year, along with the scoring. And then Connor Lanou played a lot for us last year. I'd say 50% of the game, and he was kind of a guy that helped a lot on offense when he was in there. He can hit the three, but he also creates a lot of shots for other guys. So, and that's something we'll have to count on him to do. But again, a totally different role. He's going to have the ball in his hands a lot compared to what he did last year. So those two guys are the guys that have the real experience. Probably Cy played a little bit at the beginning of the year when Aiden was out for the beginning of the year. He was kind of our backup post, and so he got some good minutes in varsity. But as the year went on and Aiden got healthy, he didn't play as much. So he doesn't have a ton of experience, I'd say, but it's another guy will count on for what experience he does have. So and then our last senior is Eli Lightfoot, who just keeps getting better every year, and he gives us the only height we have at 6'3" or so he is, and he's really athletic too, and just worked hard in the weight room for the last few years, and has really made himself a basketball player. So
Yeah, a lot of talent coming back. Any other names you want to drop? This kids you might be relying on.
so those are our four seniors that I are going to play a lot of minutes, which is cool to have a senior class that they're all going to contribute in on the court, and then we got five juniors. Well, Brody is out for the year. He tore his ACL in football, so down to four, and then so we'll have Emery Zhang and Aiden Sano will be big time in the rotation, probably starter guys, and they will play a lot of minutes for us. And then Parker Klein, who's coming off a knee injury, so he just got healthy. I think he got cleared about a month ago or so. He's looking to get in the rotation, and then Talon Brinkley will be kind of our next post guy up as a junior. So I think our juniors are a good class too of guys that will contribute, and then we have some younger guys that will get in the rotation. Some are Carson Lanou as a sophomore, and Braden Morgan as a sophomore, and then Jackson Kruse as a freshman. All will probably play some minutes. So, that's kind of what we're looking at right now after 4 days or whatever. So,
I love watching you guys play because it's so fast paced and the ball's always moving. At least that's the intent. A lot of running and a lot of shooting from the outside. Does it take a certain kind of player when you read your team that you can pull that off? You can do that again this year, like you have been the last couple of years.
yeah, I think when I started, I thought we're a very guard heavy team when I started. We've had some good posts, but we don't have like get 8 of them. So, to me, that's our best option, because if we play half court offense strictly, and it's sometimes can be tough to get shots up or good shots up, and so let's just use the fact that we're not that big, but we can run and to use that as an advantage, and I think we've done a good job of that throughout the years, and last year we were able to slow it down some because we did have some posts that could score inside, and there's going to be games where that's just going to be tough for Cy because he's 6'1" in the post, and some games where he's going to be able to do it. But so we tell him, hey, just run, because you're going to beat the guy down the court because you're faster than him. So use your athleticism and get it done that way. So it's just always a challenge to make sure we're taking good shots if we're taking that many shots. So.
And it also, of course, depends on matchups and who you're playing.
Right.
If you're playing MCC and they got that 7'9" kid, 8'10", whatever, however tall you think it is, do you adjust a lot in game or pre-game before when you know who you're playing, or do you have the same philosophy like we're gonna run and run and run?
Yeah. Well, and the bigger they are, the more I feel like we got to run, because it's once you get that 6'10" kid sitting under the hoop, it's going to be tough to score under there. So, we talk about just beat him down there, and maybe we get a layup before that or an open three before he even gets down there. So some of the smaller teams that we see, then that we might adjust that way, where we can play more of a half court game here, and if we need to. But to me, it's more about how they get back on defense. If they're not going to get back on defense, then we're just going to keep doing it. So,
is it a stretch to say you lived and died by the 3 last year, or is that going too far?
Yeah, I would say when we shot well from outside, we we won a lot of games when
And you were scoring in the 90s.
yeah, and when you don't shoot well, when you take that many threes, you're gonna struggle, and then you got to find a way to get to the rim. And there was times we were able to do that, and games that we couldn't, and sometimes we got to the rim and couldn't finish either. So,
But shooters shoot, and let's use Trevor Smith as an example. He probably had the green light all the time, right? I mean, go ahead.
almost.
And to his credit, he scored more than 2,000 points for
Yeah.
crying out loud. But that's his mentality. He was a shooter, right?
Yeah. It's tough to give him, to tell him not to shoot a shot, because we talk about a number system, like one's a terrible shot, a three's a little better shot, a nine's a wide open layup, a seven's we have a number system, and we talk about well, what kind of shot was that? Was that a 7 or a 5? Well, some of his fives were that most people's would be 5s were like 7s or sometimes 9s. So you got to let those guys shoot, take those shots. So
He had some Steph Curry threes the last couple of years, didn't he?
yeah,
I mean, he'd pull up between the 3-point line and half court, just about in between. And I always liked watching the opposing coach's reaction. Like most of the time, if he got an open look, the coach would hang his head right away, assuming it probably will go in.
right.
That must have been a joy to coach someone like that and have that backcourt like you did last year too.
Yeah, because he could get hot at any time, and there was times where he wasn't, and I think the good thing about him, as he got older, he was able to still score different ways, and when he wasn't hot. And then Alex was such a different player. He was more get to the rim type of guy, and pass it or score it from there. And it was just it was a really good combination of those two. And then we just kind of tried to surround them with shooters like Griff and Noah and guys that could shoot. And so when they helped too much on one of them, they were just ready to shoot. So
I look at your schedule. You start with 2 home games, just like the girls' basketball team does. And does that make a difference at all? I mean, you always like the home fans, and I know the kids feed off that a lot. And I'm thinking it's nice to start the season, especially losing that much talent from last year and experience, to have those 2 home games.
I think that that's a good thing for us right now. In high school basketball, the way there's so many games, and when you go to an away game, you usually have 0 fans besides the parents, because the girls have a game and there's a wrestling match somewhere, and so obviously who else is there's not going to be a lot of people that are there. So just kind of you have to create your own environment away, whereas at home, and sometimes home can be kind of dead too, because if girls are away and the wrestling's away or something, still not a lot of people. But having that first game in front of our crowd, I think we'll be able to feed off that, and that will help maybe calm some nerves. Maybe it'll make the nerves worse. I don't know,
I was
but
gonna say, it'll work against you too.
maybe it'd be better to be away. But I think our kids really enjoy the home games, because I feel like when people are available, they're there and cheering, and they love that. So
And no bus rides,
yeah.
especially in the winter and after a trip to Lac Opar or something like that. Those are some long road trips, and the football team too. I mean, a lot of long ones.
Yeah, the bus rides are the way back is pretty awful. The way there's, I don't feel that bad. You're thinking about things and whatever, and then you get even when you win, sometimes it's just hard to sit on that bus for 2 hours or whatever. So
Let's go over a couple 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever tough teams that you're looking at that are going to be big hills to climb in the Camden this year?
Well, I think on our side of the Camden, I think Lakeview's probably got the most coming back. Lakeview and Minneota. Lakeview has a really good guard, Brayfogle coming back, and a couple of big guys. So I think they're probably the top team in my opinion out there. And
They're a
then
well-coached team. Too.
yeah, and Jared's a good coach, and they have a good system, and they do a good job. And they just had kind of been down for the last couple of years but a lot of those guys that will be seniors now have been playing for a few years, and so I think they'll be good. Minneota probably lost their best player, but they also bring back a ton of experience that they played 10, 12 guys at times throughout the year that have, so a lot of guys that have played and they just press and run, and they, kind of similar to us but they have a lot of kids to rotate through, so it makes it tough. So I think those two are on our side. On the other side, Dawson Boyd, I know they lose 6'8" and 6'7", really good players, but
You said it. Every coach has done it. 6'7". You're the preferred coach. I gotta call you out on that.
Yeah, well, I'm getting used to saying it in class because after the first few weeks of school, I just said it all the time. I made worksheets that all the answers is just because I figured if I said it enough, they wouldn't think it was cool, and then they wouldn't do it anymore. But it hasn't quite worked yet. Yeah, so but they lose those two big guys, and they'll that's a huge change. But they also have a lot of good players coming back, so they're still going to be good. And then I think CMCS is going to be real good this year. They have a lot coming back, and a big kid too, that big guard type kid that be really good. So those two on that side will be tough.
Yep, tough season ahead, but you guys are up to the challenge, I'm sure. Time for our final segment, best and worst. What's the best part of coaching for Ryan Kruse?
I think the best part to me is I get to still compete without having to actually move or do anything.
You're competing without competing.
Yeah, that's my favorite part about sports is the competition, whether football, basketball, baseball, anything. I just like the competition and like the challenge, and getting to be still a part of that as a coach. And I don't believe coaches do it's all the players. That's who wins and loses games, but just to kind of be part of it is and help them win it, do something to help them is I think the best part of all of it. So,
and if you don't mind, the worst part of coaching.
the worst
the
is
toughest part.
the worst is probably just other stuff that you have to do that's not coaching. Like in football, taking care of equipment or whatever, and basketball, just putting your schedule on huddle and just stuff like that nobody really wants to do, but you got to do it, and then so you can do the fun part. So,
and you got to, as an assistant, you didn't have to worry about that on the kinds, did you?
right, yeah. Being an assistant, you don't have to do as many of those things. I mean, there's still some, but you don't have to do as many of those things, and that's why sometimes being an assistant coach is a great job, because you get to just coach and not have to worry about as much stuff like that.
Coach Kruse, you are off the hot seat for the second time historically. Thanks for joining us today.
All right, thank you.
This week's podcast was brought to you by Greenwood Nursery. Christmas is just around the corner, and your perfect Christmas tree is waiting at Greenwood Nursery. Trees, poinsettias, wreaths, centerpieces, home decor, and spruce tip pots. They have everything to make Christmas come alive at your home, as well as many gift items. Shop today for best selection in Tracy and Marshall. Greenwood Nursery gift cards are always the perfect fit, too.